Hiya, Fabi. How are you?
I'm
How
doing
are you, you
super
little
well.
metalhead, you? So,
Yeah, I am happy. Look, I have just kind of great news all around. I've been really lucky. I'm not usually this good at getting my calls right, but I think this has been a good run for me, and so I'm happy to take victory laps whenever I come back to your show. Or maybe you've been bringing me luck. I don't know.
oh well, either is good. So the victory laps, ringing the register on uranium. It's had a pullback here, and
Yes.
are they rotating into the gold and silver miners with profits from that?
Very likely. So let me see if I can share my screen here because I
Yeah.
have a few charts to show. Let me share that. Okay, so what I'm going to show you guys kind of behind the scenes of the uranium market. First of all, we have to understand that the uranium market is mostly a long-term, really old school over the counter market where it's really long-term contracts and people are literally shaking hands at conferences and sealing the deal. And we don't really have much access to that. You can pay for, a very expensive service such as, what UXC provides, and then you get a feel for what the contracts are going for. But it's a very how can I not be rude by saying this? It's a very opaque way of looking into the market and not the full story. So what the way that they report numbers in the long-term market is by taking samples of the lowest bid, and then that becomes, the contract price for that contract, which to me is completely backwards because we don't know what it actually closed for, and you could really manipulate the market by just bidding low. And so what we have here is then a spot market, which probably represents 10 to 15% of, the real long-term market. And what you end up having is, financial players playing in the spot market because they can. And also you have utility buyers coming and topping up their needs in the spot market. So usually the only people to report that on a daily basis are UXC themselves and the Marco, maybe a couple of other guys. And so what we had here from last time we talked, I think it was the 30th of November. So way back here, we were sitting at $80 per pound of uranium, went up
Yeah.
all the way to 107. Now we've pulled back to today's, 92.50 or so. This is a welcome breather, in my opinion. And the truth still remains in the fact that the miners have actually not been overshooting this move, very well. Like I said, back in 2021, November 2021, they hit a high, and then what's happened here for this move, which was an absolutely massive move. If you take
Yeah.
the 2023 performance of uranium, you're looking at almost a double. And what they've done is they've pierced through resistance from the old highs, and they've come right back. But if you look at what the price of uranium was doing back in November 2021, you're going to see that it was around 45 to like 40 to 45
Yeah.
dollars per pound. And so you can see this right here, in this
Huge.
region.
Yeah.
Absolute insanity because this is where I get really excited. Most people would look at this and say, the market's broken. Like how can I invest in a mining venture when it doesn't follow and it doesn't,
Because
you know,
it's correcting the advance, so they call that
exactly,
broken. What's
exactly.
CCJ look like? It's best of breed. Uh,
Let's take a look. So this is URNM. So this is a basket and it's pretty heavy on CCJ.
yeah.
But let's take a look here if I can move this.
I
Uh,
see Mao, which you recommended, it was trading around 50 cents, is at 96 with this gold run here.
yeah, that's it. CCJ. So Cameco has done
Okay.
pretty well, but
Yeah.
has really felt the pinch of the
Yeah.
this price weakness here in the spot market. Bear in mind, uh Cameco doesn't really play in the spot market very much. They do sometimes come to it, to fulfill and top up their own contracts, which says a lot about the market. And something to take note of is that both Chemical and Kazatomprom are really the big players that can move the market. And both have come out since we last spoke and said, we would like to ramp up, but, and then those buts come with all the difficulties that they have been facing. Kazatomprom, the world's largest producer at 40% of the market, which is insane to me that anybody would hold 40% of the whole market. But they have come out and said, we would love to ramp up production to 20%, but we're only going to be able to do it at 10%. And even that is questionable. They have been really, really struggling with
What are the
sourcing
buts?
sulfuric
Is it
acid.
regulations?
So no, it's mostly for Kazatomprom. They cannot get enough sulfuric acid in order to ramp up production. That's number one. That's what they're saying. But there's also the fact that in order to ramp up production in uranium, specifically with the type of deposits that they have, they're called ISR deposits. And so you're basically, injecting acid into the ground and pumping it. In order for you to get to full production, full capacity, you need to have done your capex investments and invested in more wells 18 months ago.
I
And
see.
so they didn't do that enough 18 months ago because they can't source enough acid. Now, one red flag that I see and one serious, I guess, indicator that they weren't going to be able to ramp up as expected was when they announced last year that they were actually investing in their own sulfuric acid production. When a miner tries to go into an industry where it's not mining
Outside, outside of
outside
their
of
expertise.
exactly out of their wheelhouse, you have to ask
Yeah.
yourself, okay, what in the world are they trying to do? Are they trying to capitalize on a new industry, or are they in dire need of something for their own production? And obviously the latter was the answer. And so that, funny enough, with Kazatomprom is what made the excitement of the market. That's what made it go from the 80s and 90s to 107, which was the high. So still very exciting. I'm still very much invested in the uranium trade. I think the equities have a long way to go yet. There are a few interesting companies, such as Denison, for instance. They
Right.
have,
I remember that one. It was
yeah,
a
Denison
almost
is
like
an
a,
old story.
yeah. I mean, they for a long time they were under a
So
buck.
let's see what they're doing right now. But Denison goes way back, and these
Yeah.
guys have some really nice projects in the Athabasca Basin, which is super high grade. They also have a really interesting technology that allows them to allegedly produce at a much lower cost. And we always say allegedly in mining because everything that can go wrong will go wrong in mining. But I believe that these guys will be some of the next guys to start producing uranium in this cycle. And they are, I think, just about large enough that they can catch some investment funds. We're looking at a market cap of
What,
$1.6 billion. So
what's
there's
the
some
price of the
institutional
stock,
players.
Bobby?
Right now it's 183.
Okay, now is that an impediment for investment funds? Institutions can't buy things under
Absolutely.
five or under three.
So it depends on the size of the institution, and what we have right now is different sizes of institutions coming in and sniffing around. One of the reasons why some of these developers haven't done as well as they could have is because Chemical and Kazatomprom are the only plays that are really big enough, liquid enough, let's say, to attract institutional capital, and so when you take a look at Denison, you're taking a look at just under $2 at a market cap of 1.6 billion. Funny enough, 1.6 billion in uranium is actually considered to be quite large. But if we take a look at CCJ, Cameco back here, yeah, it's an $18 billion company and it's trading at $42. So the difference is there, and it shows on the chart as well. You don't see that resistance from 2021 struggling to break out or retesting here. What you see is that because Cameco has been able to attract that investment capital, it has really been the best horse in the race so far. I don't know if they're going to continue to do so. My expectation is that it's going to start trickling down to the developers, especially because one mistake that Cameco did, I don't know if you could call it a mistake, but it's a fact and they can't really run away from it, is whenever we were back in, call it 2014 to 18, it was the depth of the bear market. And so in order to just keep their lights on and survive, they had to sign contracts that were not great. And these were super long contracts that are, taking place right now. They're delivering into them right now. But, at a cost, out of 2023 or 2024 cost, they are not being able to capture as much of the price movement that's happening now, and that's gone.
It's like a bad hedge. It's like they sold
exactly,
and the market went up, and they were hedged at those levels.
And the timing wasn't ideal, and I think that some of the developers that are coming on now, such as Denison, they're going to be able to sign much better deals, better contracts. And now what developers are doing is that they're being a lot smarter, and they have caught up to the idea that yes, the spot price only tells you a part of the story, but it is also more squeezable and smaller because it's more illiquid. And so a lot of them are signing contracts that have floors and ceilings somewhat tied to the spot market, which I think is much smarter.
Simon would like to know, is Denison's operation in Elliott Lake, Ontario, Canada?
I don't know what's happening to Elliott Lake, and I don't know if they're actually moving forward with that region. But no,
they're in the US.
Their main Denison's main projects are in the Athabasca Basin in Saskatchewan, Canada.
Oh, okay.
So Elliott Lake, I don't know if that that's a part of their portfolio or not. I have a feeling that that's not going to be in play for a long time. Ontario is not the best place for uranium mining right now because of regulation. So no, they are an Athabasca play, very high grade and really decent management team as well.
Great calls on uranium, Fabi.
Thank you. I've been lucky.
No, you do a lot of hard work. So nothing wrong with luck, but hard work pays.
I take a look at smarter people than myself and try to sniff out what's true and what's not, and then I place my bets.
Okay. All right. And who are those people?
Okay. So in the uranium space, I would publicly like to thank Mike Alkin, who's an American. I guess he started out as a hedge fund manager on the short side. He was always a short seller, and he was interested in uranium because of the possibility of a short. Turns out he became a raging bull back in 2018. When a short seller becomes really interested in one specific industry and dives really deep into it, and calls out what the industry forecasters are getting wrong, then I do listen to people like that. Another guy that is amazingly knowledgeable is Justin Hune. He has a service called Uranium Insider, and it's probably the best bang for your buck. For I think $600, you can get, like daily uranium news, and the guy just, he knows exactly what's happening in the market at all
I
times.
know him. I've interviewed him.
He's top notch. He's absolutely top notch, and I don't understand how he can, retain so much information in his brain. It's just amazing. So, I take a look at what these people are saying, and if I see the beginnings of a good story, which I did way back, several years ago, then I start placing my bets. Something else that I really like right now is gold. Can we talk about gold?
Yeah.
Gold is broken out. So we're looking at gold breaking out here at all-time high territory. And something very similar is happening, when we talk about uranium. It's almost like the whole mining industry is very tired and slow, and it lags the real commodity. Maybe the Canadian markets are broken, or maybe people have thrown in their towels, or maybe it's just a lot of like really old investors that have retired already and haven't
Yeah, we were making
haven't
new
come
52
in.
week lows in a lot of the gold and silver miners up until last week,
Yeah.
and gold and silver had been on the march. I made a comment that things like Majestic and uh, AG were
Yeah.
trading at near 2020 lows, the COVID low, when
Yeah.
silver was $12 and silver was 21, and they were at the same levels.
So you're completely right. Whether you take a look at GDX, as a proxy to
Yeah.
the gold majors, or GDXJ as, the more junior your gold plays, then you're going to see the same thing. You're going to see that the price of gold is absolutely flying, and that the stocks haven't really responded just yet. Obviously, you take a look at the last two sessions, that okay, you do see a response here, but this is the very beginnings. It hasn't really broken out any sort of resistance, or it hasn't broken out of any sort of channels. It's just this has been, in my short career, the climbing the wall of worry kind of highs. Even being in the industry and talking to people who do invest in gold as their bread and butter, people are not overly excited about this. It's not that they don't believe it, it's just that they're not pouring a lot of money into the miners in general.
Well, they're
I mean,
worn out.
yeah,
You know,
part
yeah.
of it has to do with the fact that if you take a look at the actual producers, you'll see that their margins have been squeezed a lot. And miners have, an issue, which is they are either in a cycle where they're growing their pipeline and trying to grab new projects, and probably throwing too much money at building that pipeline and overpaying. And then, when they realize, and the market realizes that they've overpaid for those projects, then they have to go back to the drawing board and try to reorganize themselves financially. And so I think that some of that is still happening in the industry, where they're realizing that, a cost of goods sold has been increasing by a lot more than the price. So far, that is up until now. And now price is really starting to catch up. So we might start seeing that some projects do go into the green territory, let's call it like that, very quickly, if this move is at all sustainable. So I'm super excited about gold developers and just gold plays in general. Like I said, Montage Gold, which I kept harping on about.
Yeah.
This was where was it? In November, end of November, we were sitting here at around, 72 cents, and now it's sitting at 96. This spike really has a lot to do with the fundamental of the companies. I've been screaming that this is, like this is a buy for so long. And finally, people have been listening, not because of me, but because it's a good project. So the Lundin family came in and made a big investment into this project. The Lundin family is probably the most successful, serially successful mining family in the world. And, it goes from grandfather to father to son. And they haven't stopped in the last, I don't know, 100 to 50 years. I don't know what the span is. And they are very well versed in going into regions of the world where aren't, it's not sexy to go to. It's not Canada or the US or something like that. And they go in and they always make projects work no matter what.
What's the name of the family
So
again?
Lundin family. Yeah. Anybody who's in mining will recognize the Lundin surname. So they're
Londee.
Lundin.
Okay.
Yeah. And they do have their own companies that carry their own name. So you do have Lundin Gold, and others in their group.
Okay. Do you follow there's a thesis that the white metals are actually going to outperform gold. So do you have any companies that you're following in that mine palladium or platinum?
So it's funny you asked that because I gave a talk in late January mentioning platinum. And the reason why I'm very reluctant to mention any names in platinum is that the reason for platinum to probably start taking off right now, which it seems to be doing, is the same as it's the same reason as to why you wouldn't want to invest in one of those companies. So the issue with, let's take platinum because I understand platinum a little bit better than palladium. You have a market that is very, very small, that is completely dominated by South Africa. So 74% of all the platinum in the world comes from South Africa. And the reason why, production has been difficult is because of their energy situation in South Africa, which has been widely reported by just about everybody and their cousin. And then when you go to figure out where you can invest your money and you take a look at, late stage developers and producers, they're mostly in South Africa. And so it's hard to say whether by making a bet in South African plays, you would be able to profit from it because these are the same guys who won't be able to ramp up production. So it's something that you could, if you wanted to go physical, believe it or not, you can buy platinum and palladium, through dealers and things like that. But it's going to take me a little bit more homework to find interesting deposits outside of that region in order to be able to say, this is where I'm placing my bets. I'm still looking.
Okay, so you have to be aware of the location where
Yeah.
there could be land grabs or
Yeah.
nationalization. Is that your fear in South Africa with the
My
fiscal
fear in
situation?
South Africa is just that the energy situation there is getting so desperate that they are going to stop producing it or produce it to a level that won't make sense financially.
And I believe there was a story in Mexico about them not allowing open pit mining.
That Mexico is complicated, and it's the reason why you can find a lot of cheap projects, both Mexico and Peru right now. Now this goes for all metals, right? Mexico has kind of attacked its own mining industry by rewriting the code to a certain extent and by raising taxes by quite a bit. So it's a double whammy. And what we see is a situation of, is this government going to last long enough for this to be a long-term, blow to the industry? I am not sure about that. But Peru has kind of followed in the footsteps of at least being set aside and being put in the back burner by most investors as jurisdiction where the risk is too high. One jurisdiction that I think is going to go the opposite direction in South America is Colombia. Now, Colombia has what is nominally a very socialist government, but I don't think that they're going to be able to hold power for much longer. I have, strong connections in Colombia, and that's what they're telling me, that the people of Colombia don't want whoever's in power to remain for very long. Therefore, whatever you see from the government, it just doesn't seem to stick, and companies are producing. So speaking of which, I could probably mention a really interesting company that has started producing just recently, and they have some of the best high grade gold mining going on right now. But because it's in Colombia, it's very much under the radar. I don't know why it's taking so long to load here, but let's take a look at this. It's called Eris Mining. Eris Mining Corporation. Let's see if I can bring them up here. Huh.
Okay, they are really under the radar.
Yeah. I think they've just put out financials today, if I'm not mistaken. And they are producing now. When you go and take a look at the projects that are currently producing and their pipeline, you're going to see that their average grades are far and above,
And this is
what
gold.
most small producers.
Yeah.
This is gold. Yeah,
Okay.
this is
Uh,
gold.
I have a question for you. Andrew lives in Bolivia. What is your take on mining there in Bolivia?
I have not heard great things about Bolivia in forever.
Okay.
So I wouldn't put my money towards anything unless there were clear signals from the government that said otherwise, that said, we are now pro mining. Now, one thing that's interesting that seems to be happening is Ecuador has, taken a blow for being anti-mining, and PDAC, which was the biggest mining event globally, just happened, this week, and the president of the country came out, and they had, their representatives there. When the president of a country goes to a mining event, to me, that's a massive green flag to say, look, we recognize that we need mining within our economy and we want to make it work. So Ecuador to me right now looks like a better deal. And, some of their larger projects seem to be getting financings done right now. So between Bolivia and Ecuador, I would take Ecuador right now.
Okay. And wrap it with what's your favorite copper stock?
Okay, copper. Now, I am going to talk about a really small cap company when it comes to copper because it's the one I'm most excited about. There's a company called Abitibi Metals. Now, they have done
Wow.
really, really well from
Yeah.
the end of last year to this year. So let's take a look at the last 3 months. So Abitibi Metals, they were mostly just a gold exploration company. Turns out that the people behind this company, both backers, financial backers, and management team, they come from a very influential family in Ontario, and they were able to negotiate the deal of a lifetime with the government of Quebec. So the government of Quebec, most people don't know this, by the way, holds a few mining projects that they had worked on, and they were, just sitting on it because it's not common that a government in a first world country will actually put something into production. They do some research on the certain things, and at some point they will need outside money in order to advance their projects. This is what happened to these guys, and they were able to get a project which is a high grade copper project in Quebec, and they knew that the project was high grade copper, started to drill it, and have already come out with news of how truly high grade it is, and they're getting better results than what the Quebec government have been able to get so far in the very first holes that they've dug. And so they have 2 to 3 drill rigs going on right now, and they're a fairly small cap. So far, it's looking like I think 22 million. I think this is USD. Yeah, because the market cap currently is a lot higher than that.
Okay.
And what's happening is they're not drilling to figure out if there's any copper there, but they're drilling to figure out how much and how high the grade is. And
Okay.
they're doing super well.
What a great interview, Fabi.
Thank you so
And
much.
people obviously are not going to have enough of your ideas in 30 minutes. So where can they find you and subscribe?
Okay, so they can go to the next big rush. If you go to the .com, then you can get into my free newsletter, which is basically a what happened in mining today kind of summary. You can also follow me on x.com or former Twitter and also on YouTube. Everything is the next big rush.
And you are high grade research. How's that?
I'm just lucky, Dale.
All right. Well, I'm not against luck, Fabi, and congratulations.
That's it.
Enjoy the good times, and uh, I'm glad for you. Always root for you, and appreciate you coming in here. And
Thank you.
you give the most detailed information of anyone I interview about the mining sector.
Thank
So
you so
I'm
much. I love it.
great.
It's my bread and butter. I've fallen in love with the industry, and I guess one of my missions in life is to get other people as excited as I am, because you can get such great returns if you play your cards right. So thank you for the opportunity.
All right, Fabi Lara, everyone, follow her on X at the next big rush. And I guarantee you, there'll be another one, and she finds them. So that's a wrap, Fabi. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dale.
And everyone, you could join the team in 12 minutes on the Morning Edge. Don't just count your nuggets and your uranium and palladium. Don't buy uranium coins, okay? I don't want anyone to get irradiated. So, anyway, I'll see everyone tomorrow. Good hunting.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.